Hello, it's me, Vicky Marie, and I've just come on to do a quick live because I've literally just received news that in the Apple River murder case, Mr. Mui has been found guilty of all charges, so first-degree murder. No, I'm still trying to sort of I can't quite believe it. So, this guy's been found guilty of first-degree murder, not even manslaughter, first-degree murder. Apparently guilty. So I was watching the court TV trial of Chad Daybell. That's a whole nother crazy story, isn't it? The Doomsday Prophet trial, as they call it. Chad Daybell is the partner of Laurie Vallow, who was found guilty last year on all charges. I mean, these really were guilty. You know, these people, the thing is now, Mr. Mui, he's like on a par, as far as prison is concerned, with these twonks. So he's been found guilty of first-degree manslaughter. Oh, so it says on Court TV. I'm trying to confirm it. Everyone's going mad on the chat on the Court TV. On all charges, Nikolai Miu is guilty. I'm a little bit. I mean, he obviously should not have stabbed the children, the teenagers. But I just feel they need to take responsibility also for the way they treated him. I honestly do. I think that's a shame for him. Manslaughter, yes, but not first-degree murder. What do you all think? I suppose I should say hello. Hi, Sky. Yes, Sky's guilty. First-degree murder. First-degree murder. I'm trying to find a news. I mean, I was watching Court TV, but I've yet to find a news channel that's showing what happened. Let's see. It's just literally happened. Still not even showing on Google yet. So that just shows you what breaking news that is. Because this is not yet even showing on Google, coming up as news. So I think what I'm going to have to do then is show you Court TV so that people can see where I'm getting this news from. So the way it looks like I'm making it up. Hi, Charlie. Yes, it is wrong to take anyone's life under any circumstances. But we watched the video. That man, I don't believe that was first-degree murder. There's second-degree murder, isn't there? They're different. I think first-degree murder, personally, I think is not right in this case. I expect his lawyers will appeal against it. But I'm surprised about it because I don't believe, I think his lawyers made a good case. Let me just show you Court TV. So this is what I was watching. I was watching the Chad Daybell case. And it just stopped showing the Chad Daybell case. And it came on to say, oh yeah, it came on, look, to see, I think you can see it. Verdict is in for Miu, which is Nikolai Miu. And everyone was asking, what's the verdict? What's the verdict? And obviously they must have then had to wait for the verdict. And everyone was going mad. What's the verdict? What's the verdict? And then later, they came on and said guilty on all charges. Nikolai Miu is guilty. And you can imagine, so you can see in the chat, a lot of people, you know, everyone's, there are different opinions. You've got this person saying he had plenty of times and opportunities to walk away. He came back with a knife. That's not self-defense. But then you've got After Dark saying how Mui was found guilty of first-degree murder is beyond my understanding. People saying if those kids wouldn't have messed with the man, nothing would have happened. Now you know why he lied. He was afraid this would happen. People saying that they want charges brought against the kids. I mean, it was you know, I'm going to look at the video now because I think it's important. Honestly, I would have feel really uncomfortable with finding that guy guilty. I really would. Oh, finally, breaking news. Let's have a look at this. Watch live. Nikolai Miu found guilty in Apple River stabbing trial. Let's see.
Guilty of battery as charged. Did Mr. Miu commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. Members of the jury, I do have to verify that this is in fact a unanimous verdict.
To the beginning. Why is it not? Why can I not hear it?
Mr. Cook, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. Pelzel, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Diedrich, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. McMahon, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Henderlong, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Oh, I'm sorry. I do feel sorry for this guy.
Yes.
Ms. McMullen, do you agree with the verdict that I read? Ms. Lewandowski, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Any additional polling? No? All right. It is a unanimous verdict. Members of the jury, your service in this case is completed. You are free to read accounts about this trial. You are free to talk about this case with anyone. However, you do not have to discuss this case with anybody or answer any questions about this case.
Honestly, I am absolutely gobsmacked. Manslaughter, yes, or second-degree murder, but how he has been, after what he endured from those teenagers, and I'm not excusing him. He was wrong. Of course, it was wrong what he did, but how has that not been taken into account and at least making it second-degree murder? You think what people do? People plan murders and get away with less than that. And this man was taunted by those horrible teenagers. And I'm sorry, just because someone died doesn't make them a nicer person. You know, they were horrible. They were horrible to him. And I know he didn't have the right to take a life, but he was like, you know, you put a dog in a corner, like a mad dog in a corner, and trap it, and it'll bite you. You know, that's how it feels to me. Is it the dog's fault then when you've backed it into a corner? That's how it feels to me. Honest to God, it feels awful, this. It feels horrible.
Other than from the court. So this includes the parties, the lawyers, the media, or anybody else. If you do decide to discuss this case with anyone, please treat any such discussion with a degree of solemnity, such that whatever you would say, you'd be willing to say in front of your fellow jurors or here in open court. It is in the public interest that there be the utmost freedom of debate in the jury room, and that jurors be permitted to express their views without fear of incurring the anger of any litigants or the public. For that reason, please respect the privacy of the views of your fellow jurors. If you do decide to speak, please only speak for yourselves and not for anybody else. On behalf of my colleagues, Judges Needham, Vlack, and Nordstrand, along with my courtroom staff, thank you for your participation in this important case. Court is now adjourned. Please take.
You were just listening in again as the verdict was being read inside the courtroom for Nikolai Mew in the Apple River stabbing trial. We want to take you again now to criminal defense attorney Joe Tamburino, helping us to break down the events happening inside the courtroom. Again, right now, we want to talk about the exact charges. Can you tell us again, the jury's decision, breaking down exactly what he was found guilty of, not guilty of? Joe, can you talk about those decisions for us?
Yes, he was found not guilty of the intentional crimes. The jury came back guilty on all of the reckless crimes. Now, that means that the jury obviously did not believe he acted in self-defense, because if they believed that, he would have been not guilty.
Joe, I hate to cut you off here for a second. We want to go to the defense attorneys just taking the microphone. Let's listen in.
That the jury just undertook. We obviously disagree. So with deep sadness.
How's Nikolai doing? What was his reaction to how everything went out?
He's, I thought, showed appropriate emotion throughout. He's had a deep sadness and. As he said on the initial tape to the police, he said, he was sorry. I know when this case first started and there was talks about what we could do to help alleviate some of the stress and pain that other people were feeling. We did what we could in that moment. And I think that was a large part because Nick wanted to take the lead on that. And so he continues to feel those feelings. He's sad, obviously disappointed in the result, and contemplating his future life.
Did he tell you anything?
I told us lots of things.
Can you share?
Shared what I wanted.
Okay. So these charges were added on at the end. That's something the public's, that aren't used to trials may not completely understand. Can you touch on that, as well as what kind of penalties he could be facing now from the sentence?
Yeah. So he was originally charged with intentional crimes. By deduction, it seems like he was found. They couldn't agree on the intentional crimes, so they moved on to the reckless, and that's what he was charged with. Reckless crimes are a lesser included offense of the intentional crimes. There's still substantial, life-changing penalties that he faces.
What was your thought coming into today when you walked in the courthouse? Did you feel good about the case?
We felt like we had a good case. We felt like we had a good defense. We felt like we put on a good defense. But in many ways, self-defense is a community standard, and it's very dependent upon which group of 12 people within the community you ask. I understand and appreciate that. We had a lot of complex feelings going in. We felt confident, but we're also aware that it's not math. It's not black and white. It's a community standard.
Were you expecting a verdict today when you walked in? Did you feel like it's something?
No real expectations, whatever. With juries are unpredictable, so.
Unpredictable.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You were just listening in to the attorney for Nikolai Mew, Aaron Nelson, weighing in on the jury's decision. We want to check back in now with Joe Tamburino, who has been helping us break down the events happening inside and outside of the courtroom. Joe, we were just hearing Aaron weighing in on how his client was just originally charged with intentional crimes, found not guilty of intentional crimes. Talk about the significance of the jury's decision for us.
Well, it's still a fatal blow to the defense, and here's why. Though he was acquitted of the intentional crime, he was found guilty of first-degree reckless homicide, which in Wisconsin, I believe, is a Class B felony, and he would face up to 60 years in prison. That's why Mr. Nelson, that you just showed, was not happy with the verdict. The defendant wouldn't be happy with this verdict because it's a very significant conviction, let alone the other charges. But it basically, here's what happened. When the jury looks at a first degree intentional type of crime, they see if self-defense is viable. If they find that it's viable, well, then he's not guilty of everything. You don't convict him on anything. However, if they find that self-defense is not viable, then they could either convict on that or go to a lesser charge. They went to a slightly lesser charge of a reckless homicide, meaning that Mr. Mew didn't intend to kill Isaac, but what he was doing was so reckless, he should have known better, and Isaac died as a result.
And still, the decision that they came to, as you mentioned, a significant time that attached to that.
Oh, yes, a significant time. When Mr. Nelson, as you just heard, said these are life-changing verdicts, convictions, that is correct. Mr. Mew could be sentenced to decades in prison. He's 54 years old, so even if he was sentenced to 20 or 25 years, he would be close to 80 years old by the time he's out.
All right. Again, if you are just joining us, we have been weighing in on the verdict in the Nikolai Mew case here. This, of course, we've been following now into the second week, the trial of Nikolai Mew. Again, he was charged and on trial for the 2022, July of 2022, Apple River stabbing death of 17-year-old Isaac Schumann and the stabbing of 4 others. The question for the jury again in this case, Joe, was not whether Mew killed Schumann, but instead it was whether or not he pulled out his knife because he wanted to hurt people, or did he do so in self-defense. And as you've been weighing in for us this morning, the jury made their decision in this case and decided, of course, that Mew, they found him guilty of 6 criminal charges in this case in connection with the outcome here.
That's right. And they did it basically within about 10 or 12 hours of deliberation. And they also seem to have done their due diligence by asking to see some of the videos. I think in most situations, juries, they want to see all the evidence and they want to review the evidence when they go into the deliberation. I think they take their job very seriously.
And a key part of this, that video you mentioned, of course, a big game changer to be able to have your hands on the kind of video that was available in this case, to be on the river, to have someone take the video that jury had asked to see a couple of times since they were dismissed and asked to deliberate in this case. They asked to see it twice. Those requests honored, one last night, one this morning. Talk about how critical that clip was to a case like this one.
Well, to any case, when you have a video or even an audio, say you didn't have a visual depiction, but even you heard it happen, when you have some type of recording of at least part of the crime, it's always going to be a significant piece of evidence. Why? Because it captures what happened at the time. It captures what's going on, what people are doing, their emotions, their words. Are they yelling? Are they calm? Are they being aggressive? Are they retreating? Are they advancing? It just is a real-time display of what happened. So regardless of the type of case, if you've got a recording of part of the crime, it will always be a substantial piece of evidence.
And right now we are continuing to monitor the courtroom where the jury just a short time ago shared their verdict in the Nikolai Mew murder trial, stabbing trial in Wisconsin. Of course, they returned 6 guilty verdict, 6 criminal charges in that case. We a short time ago had a chance to hear from Aaron Nelson, Nikolai Mew's attorney. We did see Nikolai Mew's brother leaving the courtroom as well a short time ago. And we will continue to monitor for any more departures from the courtroom as we make our way through the morning. The jury returning their verdict in about 12 hours. We know that they asked to see the cell phone video, that critical cell phone video, a couple of times since they were asked to deliberate in this case. That critical video, as criminal defense attorney Joe Tamburino has been telling us, such a key piece of evidence in a case like this one. Video that jury has been reviewing reviewing and viewed several times as they work towards making a decision in this case. We know that this jury makeup, it was a panel of 14. It included 8 men, 6 women. There were 2 members in their 20s, 1 in their 30s, 3 in their 40s, 3 in their 50s, and 1 in their 60s, 3 in their 70s, and 1 in their 90s. At this time, of course, we do want to check back in with Joe, who has been helping us walk through this process now for the last 8 days or so, both inside and outside the courtroom, breaking down the events unfolding here. Joe, what, if anything, has surprised you the most about what you've seen and heard as we've made our way through the last 8 days here?
2 basic things. One is how much of this was captured on audio and video. It's very unusual to have a crime that's in a rural area, on a river, in the woods. There are no cars, there are no roads, very hard to get to, but yet so much of it is on video because one of the participants, one of the people who were involved in it, was taking a video. That's unusual, but very helpful in cases. Second would be Mr. Mew's testimony. I was surprised that, he just couldn't remember, or he said he couldn't remember so much of the events. I do not blame the defense for putting him on the stand. You have to put him on the stand in a self-defense case. It's almost impossible to win a self-defense case if you do not put the defendant on the stand. However, his testimony obviously wasn't helpful to him.
All right, at this time, we want to listen in to Aaron Nelson. This is Nikolai Mew's this is Nikolai Mew's defense attorney as he came outside of the courtroom weighing in on the jury's decision. Let's listen in here.
Surprised.
Okay, then just repeating there, that was what he was on saying earlier. Well, I'm quite, more details will come out, I suppose. I presume he will appeal against it. I hope he doesn't get 60 years. Do you know what I mean? I just hope he doesn't get 60 years. Those kids were just so horrible right from the start. They brought it on themselves. Unfortunately, they did. And now it just fit. And he did the wrong thing. Everything he did was wrong. Of course it was. He should have just walked away. But, those kids bear responsibility. They were nasty to him. They were pushing him, shoving him, trying to strangle him. They were calling him names, calling him a P, calling him a predator. We watched all the videos. We've seen exactly what sort of teenagers they were. And you know what? It feels like it's almost given carte blanche to obnoxious teenagers to say and do what they want to people. And I think he was picked on because he was Russian. American people don't like Russians. I think he's definitely been a victim of xenophobia as well there. Having said all that, he did kill that boy. He killed the boy. And that, is wrong. So I didn't expect him to get off completely scot-free. But anyway, we'll see. I presume his lawyers will appeal. We'll see what sentence he gets from the judge and see what transpires after that. But just, it just makes you think, if bear in mind, if you ever get, teenagers shouting at you and calling you names and bullying you and pushing you over, you've just got to take it and let them do it to you. You've just got to take it, let them kill you, because you can't fight back, because this is what's going to happen to you if you do. I thought he was Russian. He's Romanian. Well, he's foreign, isn't he? He's foreign. They were taking the mickey out of him for being foreign. That was one of the things that they were making fun of him for. I think he had a language problem. Obviously he can speak English, but I don't think he could communicate like how he felt, etc. So, the best thing is to walk away. But when people don't let you walk away, he tried to walk away once. We watched that video. He tried to walk away once, and then he did. He'd had too much to drink. I'm not excusing him. I'm not excusing him. but I'm not excusing them either. They were all guilty. They were all responsible, for that horrible situation. It wasn't all him and it wasn't all them. He did the wrong thing. Of course he did. And he's the grown up. He's supposed to walk away. But they were nasty. We watched the video. I've watched it a few times. I was going to put it on again, but I can't bring myself to watch it again. I don't think I've got, gosh. I am surprised. But having said that, now that I know it was reckless homicide, that's not first-degree murder, is it? So that sounds better. If you like, better. That's probably the wrong expression. But reckless homicide is not first-degree murder, but it's a Category B offence in that area, and he could get up to 60 years, which doesn't seem fair. Yeah. Hi, Simon. I'm good, thank you. I'm really good. Are you? Well, I feel a bit sorry for this guy. I don't know if he's okay. I do feel sorry for the parents who've lost their child as well. But, their child, he wasn't being very nice to this man. I don't know what the truth. I just think of it. Most things I think of in context with sort of me, obviously. We all think of things in context with ourselves and our own situations and our own family. And my son would never be in that. All the things that my son might have been when he was a teenager, he would never have been a person that was doing that to someone. It's just not in his nature. And it was in all those kids' natures, and filming it. That one that was filming it, that's part of the social media era that we live in. He's filming it. He's thinking it's funny, to film them all pushing that guy into the water and slapping his face and calling him a P and a predator. Like that was something that was worth filming on his video. He's going to put it on Instagram or something. That's the sort of kids they were. My son, as I say, not perfect by any means, but that's one thing I know for a fact he would never have done. So there's something wrong there with those teenagers, that they thought that would be fun. But anyway. He wasn't looking for little girls, Deepwater. He wasn't looking for little girls. The guy, we watched a video earlier of the guy who said that, and he's denying it now that he saw it. It was lies. All of that was lies. Now you sympathise with them, that's fine. Maybe you're a young person yourself who goes out and does things like that. I don't know. Or maybe you would think that was okay for your children to go out and do that. To me, I think that's a disgusting thing that they did. So as much as it was awful what he did, of course it was, he shouldn't have stabbed them. I think those adolescents, those teenagers, they have to take responsibility. And you know what is being a horrible person? It doesn't, if they're horrible people, they're not going to get better. If they're like that now, what they're going to be like in 10 years. So, yeah, me too, Matthew. The justice system across the world is broken. We looked at a case yesterday or the day before. A guy in the UK murdered his wife, cut her up into 223 pieces and put her in the river. He got 19 years, well, just short of 20 years. So we'll see what his sentence is. See how the judge looks at it now, but at the end of the day, he's in his 50s. So even if he got a 20-year sentence, that's it for him, really, isn't it, for the rest of his life? God, I bet he wishes he didn't go. I found that picture of him so haunting. Him, not only him, and all the people that he went on that trip with that morning, and they were all planning to have a good day, weren't they? And, you go out for a day out and then it ends in this way. But a lot, and of course, alcohol and drugs had a lot to do with it. The kids were high as a kite, drinking and smoking marijuana. Yes, please. Do you mean marijuana? Yes, please. Remember that on the video. And he'd obviously had quite a lot to drink. And so that it's just a fatal combination, isn't it? He had a knife in his pocket because he had a knife with him for the tube things. If he hadn't had that knife with him, you know, in the first place, he wouldn't have been able to do what he did. But then, you know what? I feel like he could be dead if he hadn't, because the way they were pushing and shoving him and that, they weren't giving up. The only thing that stopped them was when he stabbed them, to be honest. They were shoving him, pushing him, you know, doing all those things to him. And, you know, what would have happened? I wonder if he hadn't had a knife. Maybe it would have been him that would have died. I don't know. So he didn't target the kids, Deepwater. How did he target the kids? They targeted him. They targeted him. I think you must have watched a different video to the one I watched. I mean, this was a video was taken by one of them. Have you even seen the video? Have you? I've watched the whole court case. I've seen the video. I've seen all of it, and I've seen the testimonies from the kids who are lying all the time. So I think you should perhaps watch the video again. But you know what? You're entitled to your opinion. But he definitely did not target the kids. The kids targeted him because they were high. And because that one kid that we watched the video of today, he said, he said he's looking for little girls. He didn't say he was looking for the girls. Well, we've got to agree to disagree, Deepwater. You think he was the aggressor. I don't think he was the aggressor. And I don't think, I think you know, to be polite, I don't agree with you. I think that's the best way to just say that. Don't agree at all. I think you should watch the video again. Maybe you haven't seen the whole video. Definitely was not the aggressor. I think, are you on the right case? Maybe you're thinking of a different case. I don't know, because I think you're talking about a different case. Or you didn't watch the right video. Nobody could say he was the aggressor. Even though what he did was wrong, in the end, I think everybody would admit he wasn't the aggressor. Anyway, you're entitled to your opinion. Now, going back to somebody who definitely was the aggressor, in that Deepwaters might think that Chad Daybell is innocent as well. I don't know. But yeah, so that was the case that I was watching. It's the Chad Daybell trial. I will be reporting on that as it goes along. That's a very sad case as well, isn't it? But here we know definitely even Deepwaters would not disagree. Chad Daybell, or maybe he would, maybe he doesn't think Chad Daybell's guilty. I don't know. So, but Chad Daybell, of course, was Laurie Vallow's husband, and they've left a trail of bodies behind him. His wife, her children. She's left two husbands. Two husbands died mysteriously. Her brother died. Her brother, he was like a sort of makeshift hitman. He died, and who knows if they killed him or he died of accident, you know, of natural causes. Anyway, I've already done a video about this case when Laurie was on trial last year, but I will be looking at it again because now Chad is on trial. And it's generally thought he will probably try and throw Laurie under the bus, blame it all on Laurie, because Laurie didn't really make much of a defence. You know, Laurie is personally, I think, you know, a bit away with the fairies. She believes she's a goddess. She was going on to the next life and, you know, marrying Chad, and that they were like going to be gods and goddesses in the next life. Whereas I think Chad is a little bit more scheming. But I don't know. Obviously, you know, that's the situation there. So I will be watching that case. But anyway, I just wanted to come and tell you this verdict. I'm really, like you, Matthew, and like a lot of people, obviously not everyone, because some people are just making it up as they go along. But, you know, can't believe it. Obviously, I suppose reckless homicide, it does sound better than first degree murder, if you like. And I suppose it was reckless homicide in that You could look on it in that way, but he was not the aggressor. So I want to know when those obnoxious teenagers are going to be charged, when they're going to take responsibility for their actions. But for those of you that are members, I will see you later. I will see you literally in just over an hour. And we're going to be talking about inquests in the Nicola Bulley and Evelina Sasak deaths. And we're also going to be looking at some news I've got from my sheriff in Harford County. And it's not really an update on the Rachel Marin case because there is no update. But just to let you know, we're going to talk about a little bit. I am going to be doing a full update soon on her case. So, okay. So thank you so much anyway for being with me. Just wanted to give you this verdict. I think I was quite quick with it. It's only because I was watching the court case, as I say, of Chad Daybell. And that's the only reason that it came up, and I was surprised. I thought it was probably bad news for Nikolai when the verdict came through so quickly, because I personally thought it would take quite a lot longer than that for them to come to a verdict, but it's unanimous. But all the intentional homicide charges were, he was found not guilty. So we've got to remember that as well. He was found guilty of reckless homicide, which I suppose you can think, yeah, it was reckless homicide, but there should be some retribution for those obnoxious teenagers. Okay, so thank you, and I'll see you later, hopefully, if you're members. If not, I'll see you very soon. Oh, and just a quick update about Samantha Murphy, though I will be doing a video in the morning. In the latest search that they did, they have not found Samantha, but they're continuing with that search tomorrow, which is like tonight in Spanish terms. So may have some news in the morning about that. Thank you so much. Yeah, very questionable verdict. Very questionable verdict, Matthew, but there you go. That's what it is. So it just seems to me you can, murder your wife, chop her into 226 pieces and get a letter sentence, and some poor guy who's been attacked by a load of horrible, obnoxious teenagers and strikes out, in a mistake, a definite mistake, but definitely not intentional, and get a bigger sentence. But we'll see what his sentence is. Okay, thank you. I'll see you very soon in the next video, and until then, may your God go with you. Bye.